What if you could fly a tiny whoop with DJI O4? Today, we're taking a look at a quad I've been really looking forward to, the Meteor75 Pro from Beta FPV. It's the bigger, badder brother of the Meteor65 Pro, and yes, that one's getting its own deep dive soon. So if you're more into those super compact tiny whoops, stay tuned. That Meteor65 Pro video is coming up shortly. But today, more power, more speed, and HD digital video in a whoop-sized frame. Let's see if the 75 Pro really delivers, or just looks good on paper. So, full disclosure, this whoop was sent to me by Banggood for testing. But I'm not being paid, and everything I say here is just my honest opinion. What I've got in my hand right now is finally an HD whoop with a DJI video transmitter, the Meteor75 Pro. Though, to be clear, this one's the version without a camera and VTX. That means the rest is all included, but I'll be installing my own O4 unit in here. Let's just open it up and see what you actually get in the no VTX version. We've got the canopy and cam mount with soft mount rubber grommets, a shorter spare antenna designed for DJI O4, extra props, which, let's be honest, you rarely need with ducted frames, a screwdriver and USB adapter for the flight controller, a black cable for connecting the O4 with the flight controller, and of course, the quad itself. It comes with the Matrix 1 S-Flight controller, same one as in the Meteor65 Pro. That board has a built-in 5 volts and 3 amps BEC, so it's got plenty of power for the O4 even on 1S batteries. That's important because the BEC keeps the voltage at a steady 5 volts. And we all know the DJI O4 Lite doesn't play nice when voltage drops below 3.5 volts, which happens fast on 1S, especially with the range we get from one cell LiPo. The motors on the 75 Pro are a step up from the 65. These are 1102s at 22,000 kV, so more thrust, better outdoor performance, and overall just a bit more stability in flight. But more on that later. Weight-wise, the quad comes in at about 37 grams without battery, at a 450 mAh pack, and we're sitting right around 50 grams, which is still really light. Now today I'm just gonna focus on the Meteor75 Pro by itself. I'll be doing a full comparison between both the Meteor75 and the Meteor65 Pro in another video. As for the frame, honestly, it feels indestructible. Stiff enough to fly well, but still flexible enough not to crack on impact. So far, I really like it. The Meteor75 Pro uses an 80.8mm wheelbase, which makes it clearly bigger than the 65 Pro, but still smaller than something like the Cetus X. Here you can see a side-by-side of the Meteor75 and the Cetus X. And here's a quick comparison with the Firefly 1S Nano Baby, which has the same wheelbase. This has actually been my go-to analog whoop for a while now. It's super fun to fly, but honestly, lately I haven't been using it much, mainly because it's analog, and I'm just tired of hauling extra gear around. I'm hoping the Meteor75 Pro changes that. No need for a second pair of goggles. Just toss this into the backpack and take it with you. Could be my new daily flyer. Okay, alright, enough talk about specs and comparisons. Let's get this DJI O4 installed and ready to rip. Now, before we do anything else, super important, I always reinforce the connector on the DJI O4 camera. Unfortunately, DJI went with a pretty fragile plug design here. If you crash, and you will crash, any impact can push directly on the board through that connector. Not great. So what I do is just add plenty of glue to secure it. That's it. Simple but effective. The glue I use is called B7000. It's perfect for this kind of stuff. I wouldn't use hot glue. It's too bulky. And super glue, it's too runny, doesn't flex, and honestly, doesn't hold well over time. But B7000? It's just tacky enough to stay put, and it holds things together without making a mess. This little trick has saved a couple cameras for me. So yeah, highly recommend doing that first. Alright, first things first, we're gonna install that smaller antenna that comes with the kit. Then we clip the camera into the holder, pretty straightforward. Once that's in, we secure the back using those little soft mount grommets. These soft mounts are a bit fiddly at first, but by the time you get to the fourth one, you've pretty much figured it out. Okay, then left and right, just screw the holder into the canopy. So now the camera is kind of floating, soft mounted on all sides. Should help with jello, but we'll see once we fly it. Beta FPV actually did a pretty decent job with the canopy. there's a good amount of built-in flex to help protect that connector. But still, let me quickly show you why reinforcing the plug is absolutely worth it. When you crash, and let's be real, you will crash, all that impact energy travels straight into the tiny connector on the camera. That force can rip the plug clean off the board. And once that's gone, well, so is your video feed. Game over. At the moment, there's no replacement O4 camera you can just order. So yeah, do yourself a favor, secure that plug. Seriously. Alright, moving on. We connect the air unit to the flight controller using the included cable. The whole setup's plug and play with the Matrix FC. Then we swap out these short screws for the longer ones that came with the kit. That gives us the clearance we need to mount the canopy with the O4 camera installed. But one weird thing, the antenna kinda just flops around. There's no clip or mount holding it steady. Would have been nice to have that fixed somehow, but hey, we'll figure something out. So a bundle like this is perfect for testing out a tiny whoop. Tons of little gaps, random stuff to play around with, and hey, it's kinda protected from wind and rain too. There's even this little track here that's super to fly through. Now, my DJI O4 Lite is running at just 25 milliwatts, and honestly, that's totally enough for indoors and backyard flying. And the lower your power, the less juice it pulls, which definitely gives you more flight time and performance. You don't really need more output here. I'd rather save that power for the motors anyway. I tested 2 battery sizes. With the 550 mAh power, cruising around kinda chill, I got around 4 minutes. That's flying it down to 3.28 volts in air. After that, the voltage just tanked, so I'd call that the lower limit. With the 450, I got like 3 minutes and 25 seconds. But honestly, whether it's 4 or 3 minutes, it doesn't really matter on a Freestyle tiny whoop. Performance-wise, pretty much the same between both packs. Throttle punches, power loops, felt identical. I'd go with the 450 though. Lighter is always better. Alright, let's talk a bit about throttle management, because with a setup like this, it really matters. You do need good throttle control though. There's not much headroom up top. But hey, that's normal for tiny whoops. At high speed, it felt a little shaky. I wasn't sure if it was the super soft-mounted O4 camera wobbling or the whoop itself acting weird. Still figuring that out. One thing that did surprise me, the Meteor75 Pro is more affected by wind than I expected. In here, it's mostly calm. Maybe a light breeze sometimes, but no problem. Outdoors in wind though? Wouldn't recommend it. Flying outdoors in the wind? I wouldn't recommend it. Now, jello on the O4 gets really bad if the cam angle moves or the canopy gets bumped. And yeah, the camera angle did shift on me a few times after some crashes. Might try using some thread locker on those screws to keep things in place. Other than that, the cam mount works really well. I had no issues with gyro flow. Smooth footage all the way. Flips? Easy. Even power loops. But when you're catching it at the bottom, there's not a ton of throttle left. You just gotta get used to giving it gas a little earlier. This thing is seriously fun. Super quiet too. You're not gonna bother anyone with it. It fits through everything. No gap is too small. It's a freaking gap hunter. And I love it. It can take a hit too. I had a few crashes that looked really bad and it just kept going. Just some scrapes. The O4 though, that's the part I worry about. It feels fragile. As for tuning, stock PIDs are solid, totally flyable out of the box. All I changed were my rates. And shout out to the Matrix BEC, it's doing great. Even when voltage dipped below 3.2 volts, the O4 video feed stayed rock solid. Didn't even flicker. That's impressive. Alright, here are my final thoughts. The Meteor75 Pro? Honestly, it's the first DJI tiny whoop in this size that actually feels right to me. You get that snappy flight behavior we all love, and at the same time, buttery smooth 4K footage. It's a solid mix that works great, both in indoor spaces and calm outdoor spots. Now look, comparing it to a super lightweight analog whoop, that's kinda apples and oranges. Of course, the lighter analog builds will win in agility, handling, all that. But what if you just don't want to fly analog? Well, I think your best digital option right now is probably the HD Zero Whoop Light bundle. That thing only weighs like 7 grams. The DJI O4 is around 8.2 grams. So yeah, about 17% more weight. Not a huge deal, but worth mentioning. Boxnail users already got their taste of digital whoops a while back. That system weighs in at about 7.8 grams. But for DJI folks, We've always kinda been left out, until now. Personally, this gets me hyped about tiny whoops again. I'm really curious if DJI is gonna drop a lighter version of the O4 Lite at some point, or maybe a full-on revision. That'd be awesome. Oh, and for anyone who's more into really small whoops, the Meteor75 Pro is coming up soon on my bench. We'll see how it stacks up against its bigger brother here. Now I'm curious, do you prefer the Meteor65 Pro or the Meteor75 Pro? And what video system are you all flying these days? DJI? Walksnail? HD0 maybe? Drop your setup in the comments. I really want to know what you're flying. And hey, if you're wondering how the tiny Meteor65 Pro stacks up, hit that subscribe button, smack the bell so you don't miss it. And I'll catch you guys in the next flight.